Hey, what's up and hello? This is the Chris Nicole bringing you my views on life, love, and the world of entertainment through my eyes. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, depending on what time you are watching this live. Hello, crew. Hope all is well. Make sure you hit the likety like button, double tap the screen on the way in. Please let me know if you guys can hear me. I am having some technical difficulties of all videos. I'm having technical difficulties. It's very interesting that this live, I'm having issues, which is telling me that I really need to speak about what I'm going to speak on tonight because this has not happened in a very long time. So the fact that I couldn't even hear my video, and I also was having issues with my introduction video, yeah, it tells me that there's something going on here, which means I need to speak. I definitely need to speak, and I need to talk about a couple of things. So with that being said, you guys, hey crew, hope all is well. For those who don't know, hey Danielle, hey, is it Goob? Hello Goob, how are you? Let's talk about it. Derek Dixon, he actually did an interview with the Hollywood Reporter in regards to what is going on with his lawsuit and his allegations against Tyler Perry, okay? This is the first interview he has done since since he actually filed his $260 million lawsuit. So with that being said, there's a couple of things in here. One, he did say he couldn't stay silent anymore. All right. And he said that everyone deserves to go to work and do their job without their boss trying to have essay freaky tales with them. Okay. Which is absolutely true. Now, with that being said, he said his goal is to help ensure that the next generation of actors and creatives don't have to choose between their dreams and their dignity. Absolutely agree with that also. I feel like there are plenty of people who want to work in the entertainment industry and literally feel like at this point, is it even worth it? Because um they don't they don't like what they're hearing as far as the compromises, and sometimes it sounds like the sacrifices that they have to apparently have to get into the industry. Now, as someone who grew up in La La Land, I will tell you that while there definitely are dark sides of the industry, I truly believe and I know for a fact that there are good people, good-hearted, Christian, God-fearing people who actually work in the industry. I say that they're kind of behind the scenes, but at the same time they're there just like they're there in any industry, okay? But with that being said, he also mentioned that he is gay. So this was not a heterosexual man that Tyler Perry was making advances on, allegedly. This is a man who actually is out and says that he is an out gay man. Now, what made me side eye him just a little bit, just a smidge, is that he said he did not know that Perry was interested in men or that he was looking for a freaky tail relationship. I'm going to say BS that he didn't know that Tyler Perry was interested in men. Now, the whole he wanted a freaky tail relationship, I can understand that part. But the reason why I say that is because, as I'm sure everyone knows, if you are gay or if you actually have people in your life that are gay, one thing that they always know and sense is when someone else is gay. Okay. I have heard that my whole entire life, where they be like, a gay, no, a gay. So I just feel it's very hard for me to process that this man is saying that he didn't know that he was interested in men. In my opinion, he very well knew that Tyler Perry was interested in men, just like pretty much half of Atlanta, or more than half of Atlanta, has known about Tyler Perry. So with that, he talks about, his upbringing and how he went to school for acting, and the fact that, he talks about the whole situation about Tyler Perry and making advances and drinking a lot of alcohol, allegedly, apparently, and what happened that night when he ended up getting drunk, and what happened with Tyler Perry getting into his bed. He talks about all of that stuff. So with that, we've heard this before. But here's my problem in the situation. Something told me, and for those who may not want to go down the spiritual rabbit hole, you can leave, because I'm going there tonight. I have been praying to God to show me discernment. I feel like he has been showing me discernment for a very long time. I just ignored it a lot. And I ignored it a lot because of loyalty, because of other reasons, because of, always trying to be a ride or die, so to speak. And I feel like that has hurt me so much in the past and has blocked so many blessings and things that I was supposed to move away from because I was too busy trying to hold on to stuff. So I have literally said, you know what, God, Yahweh, you show me, how I need to move accordingly, and how I need to look at people in the spirit and not look at people's success, not look at people's accolades, but truly look at people in the spirit, no matter who they are and who they are to you, Chris Nicole. So with that being said, though, like I said, I've always felt like God has shown me people in the spirit a lot, but I tend to ignore it, or I was too afraid to speak on it, because we just truly have this cult-like mentality now where even if you just critique someone just a little bit, you have all of these demon seeds coming after you because they simply don't like that you're talking about their idol. Well, I'm going to talk about y'all quote unquote idol tonight, and it is what it is. Something told me after reading this article with Derek Dixon to watch that documentary, Maxine's Baby, by Tyler Perry. Now, interesting enough, when it first came out, a lot of people were saying how great it was, how it was an amazing documentary, and how Tyler Perry is just so amazing with everything that he's gone through. Mind you, you guys, you're going to hear the cat in the background, and I'm sorry, but he's just going to have to get over it because he's not going outside. But with that, I remember people posting about how it was so amazing and what he's gone through, and he's done so much. And I was just like, okay, but again, I'm not one of those people who like to jump on a bandwagon when I first hear about stuff. I'm not one of those people where it's like, oh, let me just follow the lead, and people keep saying how great it is. I'll see it when I see it. And I did not see it back then. I just saw it today because something told me, and I believe it was Holy Spirit telling me, watch this documentary. It was a well-produced documentary. I figured it would be a well-produced documentary because Tyler Perry was somehow involved in it. You're not going to be able to convince me that he was not involved in it, because he's such, in my opinion, such a controlling narcissist that anything that is out about him that has to do with him, he's going to try to control it as much as possible. So, of course, it was well put together, and it just talked about how he has gone through so much and how he has been able to overcome and becomes this mega mogul, so to speak. Now, look, my issue with him and what kept really annoying me is him talking about God and how that voice, and what he was really trying to imply is that voice is the Holy Spirit. That's what he's trying to apply, because he always tries to make it seem like he's really into Christianity, the Bible, and all of that stuff. So when he said that voice, that is the voice of, he's trying to imply it's the Holy Spirit telling him to keep pushing and keep going. So he's talking about how, when he first started out, and he was doing these plays. He said the plays were doing horrible in New Orleans. He moved to Atlanta. They were still doing horrible. Like they just were not. There was one time that literally no one. Sorry, you guys, if you heard that. that's one of the dogs. But anywho, so with that being said, he was saying how one play no one showed up. But he literally had a voice that was speaking to him or was saying that he needs to keep going. And he made a comment that he said, God said, it's not when you're done, it's when I say I'm done. Like pretty much you need to keep pushing. Now he claimed it was God. That's what he's claiming, right? Interesting enough, based on what I saw in this documentary, he actually became successful and things just started kicking off once the Medea character was in his play. When the Medea character was in his play, okay, mind you, he is, of course, dressed up like a woman. But when the Medea character was in his play, all of a sudden things just started kicking off. He started getting, all of these offers about doing his play in the Fox Theater, and just things took off. Now, here's my problem with him saying that God was speaking to him. I've already discussed that allegedly, and I have to keep saying allegedly, but a lot of people going to say, Nicole, dang on well, this ain't alleged. Well, I have to say alleged because at the end of the day, I was not there. But I have told you guys that a actual character, actual person that is in drag by the name of Miss Sophia back in the 90s literally was doing these type of skits and doing these type of characters, Miss Sophia, in the gay clubs. And they have been alleging for years that Tyler Perry took that whole persona, that whole character, even actually stole several jokes, like verbatim, word for word jokes. All right. So I find it interesting that you are trying to say that God, the Holy Spirit, is what led you to this, when you allegedly stole someone else's creativity, stole someone else's hard work that potentially was going to make them millions of dollars so they can eat. But you steal someone else's character, and you're trying to convince me that it was God that led the way for this. That's what you're trying to convince me of. Last time I checked, stealing, thievery is against the principles of God, the Bible. So how are you going to tell me that this was all God's doing, when we clearly have heard so many stories of the devious things that you have done in the background, allegedly, to get where you are? And it was really annoying me about him saying these things and keep saying that it was God, God, God. Well, sir, which God are you referring to? What God are you referring to? What God are you serving? Because I personally am starting to really just look more and more. I already wasn't feeling Tyler Perry, but I'm just like, you know what? Like, seriously, sir, you have been accused consistently of not only taking people's work, but not paying people fairly and accurately, not trying to get unions involved for people to get paid fairly. But you're trying to convince me that the one living true God that you claim that Bible like the back of your hand, well, guess what? The devil know the Bible too. And you trying to convince me that you're saying that God that's in the Bible is telling you to do all of this and actually blessed you with all of this? Yeah, you're not going to be able to convince me of that. Sorry, sir. You're not. You're not going to be able to convince me of that at all whatsoever. And honestly, I think Tyler Perry knows dang on well. I think he knows dang on well that what he's doing is wrong. That's why he tries to balance or mask those wrongs with trying to do these accolades or claim how much he cares about people and how much he gives to people, because he's trying to cover up really all of the stuff that he's really, really doing. Still to this day, Miss Sophia has not gotten the accolades that Miss Sophia deserved. Period. You see what I mean? And it's like, you took that character allegedly. You're not going to be able to convince me that God told you to steal someone else's hard work. Because it's nothing to take someone else's creativity and just go full out with it. You took this character and you telling me God, Yahweh is the one who blessed you with this? Nah, boo. Absolutely not. And this is why I say we got to be careful about people who want to scream up and down about God and the Lord. You need to be very good about discernment and wonder, like, which God are they referring to? Because is it God with the capital G or God lowercase g? Because to me, it's not adding up at all, at all, at all. We have heard the rumors. We have heard the rumors about this man. More rumors are coming out about this man. And honestly, his documentary revealed a lot of stuff too. And I don't think he realized that documentary may get him caught up more than he realizes. Well, what am I talking about? When he said his mother passed, he said for years he was drinking heavy. He was drinking heavy. He said nothing mattered, nobody mattered, and he was drinking heavy for years. Well, what has Derek stated in his lawsuit? There's been a lot of drinking, right? Allegedly. And there's been a lot of drunk texting, allegedly, or sexting, allegedly. And I find it interesting that he said that, now realizing that could this have been around the time that he was doing this stuff? And he said nobody even mattered at that point. But the reality is this, in my personal opinion, Tyler Perry, like I even said with Cassie, is a victim who became a villain. I personally don't think Tyler Perry is over his past. He just masked his past with all of the money that he's making. And he uses that power and that money as a way, in my opinion, to do the devious things that he does. Or does allegedly. Okay? He can say all day long he's forgiving people. I don't think that's the case. Because the way that we're hearing he operates behind the scenes, that is not coming off as somebody who is truly a man, a God-fearing man living for the principles of God. And another thing too, in my opinion, he used the church to get where he was. But to me, he never truly had God in him in a true relationship with God. And that's my opinion. And let me say why. It's very easy. And he's not the first one to come with the church plays. I remember growing up going to church plays all the time. But he was the only one who ended up having the standout character of Medea that he allegedly stole. But it doesn't take much for a church crowd. All they got to hear is Bible scripture, amen, hallelujah, at one point in the play, and somebody who can sing they butt off, and they will thoroughly enjoy themselves. Not all, but there are some. Okay? It doesn't take much to entertain a church crowd, especially a church crowd that just left church, and especially a church crowd where you probably had a good amount of them who literally ain't living for the principles of God in the first place. And I'm not saying this on some judgment stuff, because I still say that I'm a baby in Christ. I literally ask God on a day-to-day basis to work on me on a day-to-day basis. But my thing is, I don't like someone using God and Christianity in the Bible as if that's what they're truly living as far as the principles are concerned, when in my opinion, they are not. For example, you start off making it seem like that you're going to do faith-based stuff. You did the church plays. Your first couple of movies, if I'm not mistaken, were faith-based. And then next thing you know, yes, please double tap the screen, you guys, or the three dots to your right. Next thing you know, he goes from faith-based to very dark, twisted fantasy type of stuff, where sometimes there have been scenes where I'm like, can you please explain to me why you purposely have this scene in here, besides that you are trying to live out this dark, twisted fantasy? There have been certain scenes in his movies where I'm like, how does this add to the story? Or do you just have this sick, twisted mind where you want to have that in there because you want to be able to have this I should say CORN, but you know it's not with a C, corn. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's giving that you just, this is truly who you are. This is truly who you are. This is who you've always been, but you needed an audience that was going to ride with you no matter what until the wheels fall off. And then you switched over to what you really wanted to do. That's what it's giving me. And when it's convenient, he brings up God. But you're not going to be able to convince me that you truly serve God and you truly know God and you're doing the things that you're doing. And this is why we are in a situation where you have a lot of people who have stepped away from the church, religion altogether. I will testify that I am somebody who was like that for a very long time, because I saw too many people who claimed they were Christian being very hypocritical. And I'm not saying that I'm perfect, but I'm talking about people who claim and want to say behind the scenes that certain celebrities practice witchcraft, will tell people behind the scenes that these celebrities practice witchcraft, knowing that it's wrong based off of the principles of the Bible, but at the same time in public still want to praise this celebrity and don't want the public to know what they were saying behind the scenes. So it was a moment where I was just like, what am I doing? But I had to realize, because you're too busy focused on people and not focused on really having a relationship with God. Because if you have a relationship with God, then everything else is going to fall into place and you'll really start to see people for who they are. You will know them by their fruit. So I say all of this to say that I know church hurt. I know hypocrites. I know how definitely I can see how people just kind of roll their eyes in a situation and be like, see, this is why I don't do church. This is why I don't do this. I totally get it. I totally get it. But I think that's the problem, is that we're too busy focused on having a relationship with the church, having a relationship with people who are so-called leaders of the church versus having a relationship with God. I don't think Tyler Perry has a relationship with the true living God at all whatsoever, which is why I say, sir, what God are you so-called serving? What God are you serving? And it's interesting that you have so far, so we have people thinking that he's talking about the true and living God. You also say a false God or deceiving spirit, and then some people are saying himself, he's playing God. You guys, just my opinion, I don't think Tyler Perry, he got some demons. He really does. He definitely, gosh, man, like I would never, unless he truly gets delivered. I just don't think he's a good person. Like, I don't think he's a good person. I think he wants to convince himself he's a good person, but I truly, truly think, and in my spirit, I am feeling, in my gut, I am feeling that he's a lot more like the people that mistreated him growing up than he wants to realize. The father that he was named after, that we find out wasn't even biologically his father, in my opinion, he's giving off that he has that same spirit in him. And no, whoever else messed with him, he has that spirit in him. And that's what he can't get rid of. And I don't know if he necessarily wants to get rid of it. I don't know if he really wants to get rid of it. Because again, you can't claim that you're living for Christ, you living for God, and you have people who are now allegedly mentally and physically traumatized because of you. You can't say that you're living for the living God when you literally have allegedly taken other people's material and have been a very alleged vindictive businessman, to where these people don't have the attorneys and they don't have the money and the resources to be able to fight for their case. So they end up penniless, even though they know it's their work. You had writers for the House of Pain that helped you for a couple of seasons to get your show where it is. And then because they decided to fight for their rights with the WGA, allegedly, you decided at that point to fire them. These are things that are not godly. I don't care how you slice it. I don't care how you put it. It's not godly. So how are you, what voice were you hearing? Because let's be clear, every voice you hear is not the Holy Spirit. Other voices, other spirits can be talking. Deceiving false spirits can be talking to people also. And we have to stop assuming because someone is successful, that means that the true and living God is the one that blessed them. When people sell their souls to the dark side, it can look and appear a certain way just so they can try to get more souls. And if for those who feel like I'm preaching too much tonight, oh well. Y'all may think this is preachy, but it was not sitting with my spirit. I kept looking at the freaking TV and I was like, this man is something else. Like, I was just like, really? Like, you know where you got the concept of when it came to Medea. Everyone from the community in Atlanta, and especially the LGBTQ community, has all said Miss Sophia, Medea go hand in hand. You telling me that God told you to take someone else's stuff so you can be in your winning season? You're telling me that God told you to not unionize people so you can put more money in your pocket while they may barely be able to pay their mortgage or bills? You're telling me that God is telling you to take advantage, allegedly, of people like Derek Dixon and Braxton, allegedly? Now, granted, Braxton is not saying that Tyler Perry is the one who took advantage of him, but he is implying, based on the videos that we saw, that Tyler Perry was very aware of what happened. And it was almost implied that because the Tyler Perry was aware of what happened, he was willing to hide it and blackball Braxton, allegedly. And you telling me that's of God? That ain't God. At least the God that I know, based off of the Bible principles that I am trying to continue to have a relationship with, that's not God. And it was sickening me to my stomach that he kept mentioning God and opening up the Bible and literally saying that, he saw the gates and he saw, like things about God and Bible scriptures on the gate. And he said, that's a sign. Like, I feel like this man is playing us. He's playing us and really making it seem like he truly is just this good guy. I feel like this guy definitely needs help. He needs serious help, because I truly feel like psychologically this man is dark. He's dark, but he hides behind the money and the success. Like, seriously. Like, I can't even imagine if there are more victims that are willing to step forward, how devious and dark this really gets. When you just hear some of the stories that we've heard so far, it's like, who is this guy? He has the persona, the public view of him, and then it's like, no. What you do behind the scenes to me is who you really are. And one thing about narcissistic people, they can't stand when people attack their character. They're trying to be very controlling of the situation, and they're going to do whatever they can to try to control, manipulate, so they can sit up there and make it seem like that they are these perfect beings. Tyler Perry knows how to say all the right things, when to say it. He knows how to say all the right stuff, especially when he has a great editor. Because Maxine's Baby, if I was truly in the element of just enjoying a documentary, I could see why so many people loved it, because they just feel like, oh, as Black people, we have gone through so much, and for him to be able to make it the way that he made it, and as much as he loved his mother, even with all of the abuse that he went through and everything else, like, he deserves all the accolades. He deserves all of this. And I'm like, I don't know. And we don't know where them accolades really came from. And again, what about the people that allegedly are victims of Tyler Perry, not just on the physical, but on the financial? There should be no reason why you have had lawsuits about people you stealing their work, you not wanting to make them union. It bothers me that people feel like it's better to have a Black man do the oppressing and disrespect and do other Black people wrong. We will look at the same situation as someone white who runs a company. If they did that to Black people, all hell would break loose. But when a Black person does it, oh, they're just hating and he's just being successful. No. No. He should be held more accountable, because he understands people disrespecting him. He understands people taking advantage of him. He understands pain. So this is why I say he is someone who understands pain, has been through so much, and he's projecting that on other people. He, to me, in my opinion, at this point, he ain't no victim anymore. He was a victim that literally has now used all of this to become a villain. Is everybody lying about Tyler Perry? Like, seriously, is everybody lying about him? I don't know if I can say that people are lying about this man at this point. I don't. I understand that y'all say that they always are going to attack people and Black people with money. But at the end of the day, you guys, you have to still be able to look at these situations and say, why him? Especially these type of details. Why him? Even the ones who still want to protect Diddy, it's like, why him? These details, like these specific details of people feeling like they've been taken advantage of. But for the life of me, I will never understand somebody trying to do or has been accused of doing allegedly devious things, but then want to bring God in the mix. I will never be able to rock with that. Never. I don't respect it. I don't like it. And maybe, just maybe, God has finally had enough. Because I'm gonna be honest with y'all. I have literally had conversations with God and be like, why does it just seem like the most devious people are getting ahead? Like, I don't know if you guys have ever had those conversations, like, God, like, why does it feel, and not saying it's actually happening, but why does it feel like these people are getting away with so much and getting praised? You know what I mean? Like, it's just, they can do no wrong, and they're really doing the Lord's work. This ain't the Lord's work. This can't be the Lord's work if people know their Bible. And there were people who know the Bible and they will use it to deceive people. And I'm over this praise of Tyler Perry. Like, again, I don't necessarily know what happened between him and Derek, but what I do know is in these situations, in particular, where there's smoke, there is some fire. Like, there's too many people who are saying the same thing about this man. But then you want to tell me, God bless you with all of this. That's why I said, what God is he talking about? What God is he talking about? And again, that Maxine's baby documentary may honestly hurt him. It may help him to a certain extent because they're going to probably try to say, psychologically, he, definitely was victimized and was a victim. So you're going to have people who are going to feel sorry for him and kind of support him as far as public opinion is concerned. But when he said he went to a dark place for years and was drinking and, he didn't care about nothing, didn't care about nobody until his son came along, I'm like, I would like to know what those years are and how many alleged victims were definitely during those years. But it sounds like to me, because his son, if I'm not mistaken, is up there. I feel like his son was even born before 2020. So if his son was born before 2020, all of the stuff that Derek Dixon is accusing him of and Braxton happened, I believe, after 2020. So you can say all day long that your dark place after your mom passed literally was for a couple of years, but it really sounds like it never stopped, because one thing I will say is, why is Tyler and his alleged vice president that Braxton is accusing that did something to him? What's up with all of the drinking? What's up with all of this drinking that they always are claiming is happening? And how they feel woozy and completely intoxicated afterwards. Like, we're seriously. Like, so it sounds like to me, when he's behind the scenes and no one is watching, that dark side still lives in him on a day-to-day basis. And he may think he's trying to suppress that dark side, but clearly not. Clearly not. And him trying to say that because he knows pain, that's why he's able to write all of these scripts so fast. Look, sir, I don't believe you. I said it. I don't believe you. I don't believe anything that you say. I feel like everything that you say is calculated and trying to make it seem like you are better than what you actually are. I said it. I was just looking at him and I feel like God was showing me him in the spirit even more. And I'm just like, oof, this is darkness. Like, I don't look at him as a ray of light. I don't. I don't. And I feel like you can really tell people if they truly live for God or not is when you don't necessarily agree with them, or you may necessarily, don't believe in certain things they're doing, or you may stand up for yourself and see how they react. They literally said in that documentary that he can be very hard to work with, but then they try to spin it and say he will never actually demand something of you that he doesn't demand in himself. But then we also heard from Braxton that allegedly that guy who did something to him, the VP, when he was in the car, Tyler Perry called him and had Tyler on speakerphone, and Tyler Perry was complaining about his actresses and stuff left and right. Like I said, behind the scenes, I just don't feel Tyler Perry's a good person. I think that he wants the public to make it, make sure that the public stays on his side, like he is this good, God-fearing man. I don't see it. I do not see it. You can't convince me. And trust and believe, I feel like more and more what's going to happen is, if you have more people being honest and they feel like Tyler Perry will no longer have power or whatever the case may be, you're going to have more people being honest about how they feel about Tyler Perry. A lot of people, I feel like, in the industry don't really mess with him, but they're not going to say anything because of the power that he holds. And think about this in closing. What is the purpose of some of these shows that he's writing now that just seems to give these kind of dark, twisted fantasies? What is the purpose? Some were saying, oh, well, the industry got to him. How? Because let him tell it. He's able to do everything on his own terms. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Mic check. Can you can things like this? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Hello? Hello? Can you hear me? Okay, you can hear me. All right. This is what I'm saying. This is what I'm talking about. See, here it is. You said I'm breaking up. Are you on your phone? Hello? I'm here. You're saying that I'm breaking up. I can see that you guys the mic is showing that it's on. Okay, so you hear me. All right. See, yeah, exactly. People, certain spirits trying to come, they're trying to stop this lie, but I'll just say this. And like I said, I was going to end on this note. This man claims that he runs everything. He owns his studio, he owns the lights, he owns everything. No one in Hollywood runs him. So if no one in Hollywood runs him, how do you go from faith-based and Christian principle work to going completely on the opposite side? How do you do that? He doesn't even really have movies anymore from what I've seen in TV shows that even talk about faith-based stuff anymore. So to me, people can't say it's the industry. He claims the industry doesn't run him. He is his own boss. He owns everything that he does. So then what's really going on? Why are you now going to this whole other side where I'm really trying to figure out where is the faith in any of the stuff that he quote unquote is writing now? So to me, it's coming off as if he always wanted to do this, but he needed a way to kind of bring in the audience. An audience sometimes that don't know no better and just wants to be entertained. Because again, he started off with the church population. And now he's going to a whole nother side, baby. A whole other side. Do you think he would have been able to do Maricopa? Or what's the one that had the girls who was the streetwalkers? Do you think he would have been able to do this when he was doing those plays? No. No. He had to make sure and build his audience and build his audience. And just like Walter Lee Hampton said, Walter Hampton has said for years that Tyler Perry is gay. He knew him back in Atlanta in the early 90s. He said that his church population, his fan base cannot know that he's gay because he would lose his fan base if he came out. So again, what is this really about, Tyler? You telling the truth, sis. Thanks for revealing his true intentions. I s- I literally I said I'm gonna say it, and I'm sure I'm gonna get people. I'm sure I'm gonna get people who are gonna be on the attack because again, they treat these celebrities like they're gods. They truly idolize these people. But again, you just can't convince me that you're doing the Lord's work with all of the devious things that you've been accused of. And people can say all day long it's accusations, but how do you explain Miss Sophia telling the story verbatim about what happened? And how people still have videos of Miss Sophia in the club doing the Miss Sophia skits and stuff and literally comparing it to Medea. Even the FUBU, fat, ugly, black, and uncomfortable, I think was the actual line. And Miss Sophia saying it in the club and then him saying it in the play. How do you get success once you take someone else's stuff? That ain't God. That's not God. God is not going to say, I'm about to bless you, my child. Steal from your brother. Steal from your brother. And I'm going to bless you with billions of dollars in a studio. Now, y'all think that's God? Just be honest with yourself. You really think that's God? God gonna tell him, take from somebody else, and I'm gonna bless you. Get out of here. Get out of here. God ain't operating in that way. That's why I said, what God is he talking about? Like, for us who truly do want a relationship with God, who's Christian, I think more and more God is exposing. He's maybe allowing a lot of these things to happen. I've been speaking to people and they were saying the same thing. Like, he's allowing these things to happen to really expose people and not just necessarily expose the celebrities, but expose people who are still willing to ignore these things and still want to ride for these celebrities. I think he's exposing that too. I'm over it. But I've always felt a certain vibe about Tyler Perry. I remember that first, was it I Can Do Bad All By Myself? I think that was the first DVD, straight to DVD play that he did. And that was the one where he brought his mother and his father on the stage. And something, even then, I was like, something don't feel right. And I remember my friend, this was during Thanksgiving and we was watching, and she was like, what you mean? I was like, just something don't feel right with this guy. Some don't feel right with him. And I've always gotten a lot of drama behind me being outspoken about certain people. And don't get me wrong, it's not just celebrities, it's people in my everyday life. I don't talk to a lot of people at my job. And there are people who I literally was holding on to at my job that I personally feel like God told me to let go a long time ago. And it had to like really blow up in my face to let people go. Thank you, the last days. I appreciate it. Thank you. And yeah, we definitely are in the last days. I was just talking about to one of my crew about that. Our grandmothers and stuff used to say we living in our last days, but I truly think we are here. We are here because just the dark side is just creeping, and people actually think it's normal, that it's acceptable. And they really do think it's acceptable. It's kind of insane to me how people are normalizing devious behavior and people being taken advantage of. I don't understand it, but we live in a very selfish, narcissistic world. But Tyler Perry ain't fooling me. Sorry, you guys. And Derek Dixon doing this interview with Hollywood Reporter, it was definitely, of course, an article. So I doubt very seriously he sat down with someone. It was probably just him answering the questions via, through email or his lawyer. But something tells me he has a case. He has a case. Whether y'all like it or not, he has a case. Um, I'm curious as to why people don't want to take Braxton's case. Um, I'm going to pray on that because honestly, truth does need to be put out there. about people taking advantage of others. And I'm, again, not talking about on a physical level, a mental level, a creative level. Like, I think people who are consumers will never understand how hard it really is to create. Consumers just want to consume. They want to be entertained, and they just don't care where it comes from. Like, for example, the whole P Valley situation. I talked about that. Nikki Gilbert did a side-by-side comparison of the pilot of P Valley and literally her play. 50 like scene comparison. And in all honesty, it truly did look like there was heavy influence when it came to Nikki Gilbert's work. But what were a lot of people saying? Oh, my gosh, I don't care about her case. I just want P Valley to come back on. Why would you want someone's hard work that can create generational wealth and could potentially help poor people, so many other people get off their feet? Why would you not care about that? Because people just want to consume. They just want to consume. And they don't care about anybody else but themselves. Like, and I think Tyler Perry, to a certain extent, there's somewhere in him, while I feel like there's a lot of darkness, I feel like he knows a lot of stuff that he's done is wrong. For example, the whole Monique situation. Now, Monique was wrong for recording it. Do I understand why she recorded it? Yeah, because Tyler Perry gives off the vibes that he's going to make sure that in public, things are going to be perceived another way versus what he says behind the scenes. He was apologetic on that call, saying he doesn't want to be the one responsible for someone else's pain. I find that quite interesting, sir, because how do you think Miss Sophia feels about you allegedly taking the skits? But with that being said, when he got blasted, see, this is how narcissists work. When he got blasted over what he said to Monique and actually admitted that things could have been done better and he shouldn't have said certain things, he got blasted. Did you hear from him? Did he ever give that public apology? Did he do any of that? No, because his flesh was operating at that moment. And see, that's the thing. You trying to convince us that God is the one who told you to keep pushing and keep going. But your flesh allegedly stole from people. Your flesh sat up there and told people unnecessarily that people were difficult to work with. So therefore, they ended up losing money to take care of their family. Your flesh is telling you you don't want union employees because that means that it's more money coming out of your pocket, even though you're already a billionaire. That's your flesh. That ain't God. So that's an example of how behind the scenes, he literally was trying to admit that he could have did things better. But once Monique called him out, he went ghost. His pride got in the way, his flesh got in the way, and he said, I ain't gonna do it. But sir, if you truly are a man of God, you got to get out of that flesh, whatever it takes. Fasting, praying, being delivered. That's based on the Bible that I'm reading. You can't operate in your flesh. And I feel like the way he's built this empire has been operating in his flesh. Thank you, Boondocks, for exposing the real, in my opinion, because it's all coming to surface. Now, we laughed at the Boondocks episode, but literally it exposed Tyler Perry. That's why he got so mad. That's why he got so mad, because truly, if he was a man of God and that was really trying to change, because everybody got demons, everybody got things that they have to work on. But if he was really trying to be a man of God and really trying to not operate in his flesh, he wouldn't have taken the Boondocks as a challenge to his character. He wouldn't have taken the Boondocks as a way to allegedly let them shut it completely down. He would have took that as a warning from God that he needed to change. That's what he should have took it as. That you have people who literally maybe have worked with you or maybe heard certain stories and expose you in that way, even in a comedic way, but expose you in that way. That should have been the moment that you said, okay, God, I think you're giving me a sign. But he operated in his flesh again, shut it down. And while you may not like the fact that they talked about you, they talked about R. Kelly too. You see R. Kelly trying to shut down the Boondocks? They talked about Martin Luther King. You see Martin Luther King estate trying to shut down the Boondocks? No, but when it gets to you, all of a sudden you want to shut stuff down, allegedly. But you claim to be about people. I guess you're only about people when they willing to sit up there and do whatever you tell them to do. And that ain't of God either. Because you should want people to get closer to God and operate on God's terms and do what's best for God. Because at the end of the day, if you're about that Bible, sir, you're supposed to serve God. So it shouldn't be about what people are doing for you and how they're listening to you. They should be listening to God. And maybe, just maybe, Derek Dixon and Braxton are listening to God and saying that you need to be exposed. Because I truly feel that Tyler Perry has gotten warning after warning after warning, and now things could potentially collapse. Because he did not take heed. He was operating in his flesh. He kept moving. He kept pushing. And here we are. You done had one situation. And we're talking about the essay stuff. We ain't even talking about taking people's creative rights, allegedly. Because for whatever reason, a lot of people, I think, don't care about the creative rights because you really don't have a lot of people who are really that creative. Like, I feel like the true creatives aren't the ones who are like at the top of their game and the most successful. The true creatives, like the Tiffany Reds, who are constant like songwriters and people like that who truly have the creativity, they are just fighting to live on a day-to-day basis. It's those people out there who literally know how to profit off of others' creativity that's making the money. Those are the ones who are really making the money. One thing about Tyler, he's a businessman. I definitely think he can be a dark, shady businessman, but he's a businessman. But to me, we need to stop praising Tyler Perry just because he's black when he has caused allegedly a lot of hurt and trauma amongst his own people. That should be even more treason, that you don't screw over your own. So at the end of the day, you guys, I just needed to vent. I saw Maxine's baby. I can see someone operating strictly out of their emotions, looking at that documentary and just saying how it's such a beautiful story to overcome trauma. I don't think Tyler Perry's over his trauma, and I think he's causing a lot more trauma. It is what it is, you guys. That's what I truly feel in a situation. That is my opinion. But at the same time, can he change? Well, God can change anyone. My thing is, though, I just personally feel like, does Tyler Perry want to change? Because it shouldn't be about you changing simply because you're trying to keep your persona and your public appearance. Do you really want to change? That's the thing. But I think he has some deep-rooted issues. And naturally so, with all of the things that he's been through. But if you really wanted to be delivered, a lot of this stuff wouldn't be going on. If you truly wanted to be delivered, you wouldn't be in a church like TD Jakes bragging about how you gave $1 million to a church that already got a lot of money, and then sitting up there allegedly speaking in tongues and putting your hands on TD Jakes like you this holy anointed man. I ain't got time for the theatrics. Like, I really don't. And this is why at the end of the day, I had even distanced myself from God for a minute, because I was too busy looking at church folks versus just really getting a connection with him. And I had to say, forget going to church every Sunday. Forget, listen to certain people, get into that word and you'll really start to see, and people will start to reveal themselves in the spirit. At the end of the day, in the spirit, they will reveal themselves. And like I said, I have been asking and praying to Yahweh more and more to reveal the spirit of people, not their success, the spirit. Who are these people in the spirit? And I'm not feeling Tyler Perry's spirit. I'm not. God can change anyone. Again, some I feel like God is like, some of these people don't want to come to me. Some people don't want to see, you know what I'm saying? Like they don't, like they're gone. And at this point, I don't know. Tyler Perry, I feel like has had so many signs, and he just continues to do what he's doing. And he feels like he can just use his money as a way to hide the demons. I would have to say we have learned very quickly that money can't hide things forever. And when God is ready for you to be revealed, it's going to happen. It will happen. And Cat Williams, I still believe, which is interesting enough. I don't know if you guys heard my live a couple days ago. Danielle, I think you were here. I said, I truly feel that God used Cat Williams as a vessel to expose the truth. I said that in one of my lives. Apparently, Cat Williams just had an actual interview, and I want to say it was with Carmelo Anthony's, if I'm not mistaken, not the Carmelo Anthony in Texas. I'm talking about the basketball player Carmelo Anthony. I think he just did an interview, and I think he implied that he said God used him. See, God can use anyone. God can use anyone, and you know when God is using someone, because at the end of the day, it really goes against code. Like what Cat Williams did went against code. It went against all codes. Because what he said, a lot of people would have been shaking in their boots to say. He said it. He said it with confidence. He said it with conviction. He said it like, he was on a mission to make sure that God people are aware. It's God's side or the other side. He said that. He said, you know what I'm saying? Like, he said a lot. He mentioned Tyler Perry. He mentioned Diddy. How do you mention Tyler Perry? How do you mention Diddy? And now they going through all of this lawsuit stuff, literally not even 2 years later. Like, I truly do think God used him as a vessel and got almost 100 million people viewing it. Still to this day, I will go to that interview just to hear the gems of that interview, but at the same time, also letting me know that yes, God's people and good people can still have theirs on this earth, and they can still be successful without compromising their souls. Because to me, I'm not saying Cat Williams is perfect. Not saying that. But I do feel like there are just certain things that he wasn't willing to compromise. But guess what? He's still making his money. He's still doing what he loves to do. You know what I mean? Like he still is able to bless people and help people in the process and make sure that people also can get their money. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, God, exactly. God speaks always. We just have to listen. And I'm just going to be honest with you guys and transparent. A lot of times I haven't listened because I wanted to do things my way and control things my way. I did. And I hurt myself every single time when that happened. Sure did. Sure did. And I had to have a moment a couple of weeks ago. I kid you not. I had to have a moment a couple of weeks ago where I literally had to surrender myself and say, I've been trying to control situations and do things so much my way. I gotta surrender and just know that at the end of the day, if I'm gonna say I'm gonna have faith, I'm gonna have faith, and I have to stand on that. But I can't even, like I said, I have been frustrated. Like, God, how does a Tyler Perry and all of these people, how are they coming off or being seen as they're untouchable? But the reality is we don't really know. We don't know what Tyler Perry goes through on a consistent basis. Maybe he allegedly drinks a lot because he is trying to suppress all of the things that he's done to people to get where he's at. Is he truly happy? I don't think that's something that we'll never know unless God really exposes it all. But again, a lot of these people, they may seem like they have it all, but they not really happy. And the way that Derek Dixon was talking about, the way that man was texting him and even being like, "Are you ignoring me, Derek? Derek, why are you not responding to me, Derek?" That don't sound like a man that's that busy nor a man that's that happy with a son. I was like, good grief, he texting like that? Like, this man sounds lonely and dark. He don't seem complete and filled at all. So I just wanted to spread that, you guys. I'm sure some people gonna be saying I'm too preachy. I may have lost some people. Oh well, like I said, I'm going to start allowing God to control my path on what I say and what I don't say. I've even stopped cursing as much, you guys. Y'all know that every sentence sometimes I used to curse up a storm. I'm really allowing God to work on me and to use me. And like I said, I want to see people in the spirit. And when I don't feel good vibes, I don't feel good vibes, and I need to listen to it. I need to listen to it because God gives us all the warnings. We just got to listen to it. And after reading that article and seeing Maxine's baby, I'm good off of Tyler Perry. I really am. Not that he really cares. You know what I'm saying? Because I think there is a certain arrogance about him that he feels like he has that cult following so he can do what he wants to do. But the biggest following that anybody has is Yahweh. And when he's ready to shut it down, he will shut it down. He will shut it down. So we'll see, Tyler Perry. We'll see where Derek Dixon's case goes. We'll see where Braxton's case goes. I don't necessarily know if it's going to put a dent in his operation. $260 million lawsuit for apparently a guy who is estimated at billions. I don't know. And it could be that his insurance pays for it and he keeps it moving. But I think God is trying to reveal to a lot of people that y'all really need to see who these people are. Understand that you should not have any idols. And the only person that you should be worshiping is nobody here that is walking on this earth. Yahweh is the only one you should be worshiping. Because honestly, I don't see where it gets people praising these celebrities like they do. These celebrities don't even know them and probably wouldn't even spit in their direction if they was on fire. So, Tyler Perry, you need help. You need help. You need God. And I'm talking about the true and living God. I personally don't feel like you really have a relationship with God like you claim. I just don't. And I don't like the way that you allegedly have treated people. And I have to keep saying allegedly, but there's no way you're going to be able to convince me that God is the one who provided this stuff for you, not Yahweh. Now, again, a lot of people get up on those stages and say, "Thank you, God," but we don't know what God they're talking about. So again, he always trying to talk about the Bible and Psalms 91 and stuff like that. Sir, that annoys me even more when people try to use the good book, the Bible, for their own personal gain, not to really serve God's people and to really spread the gospel. Because that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to be serving God to spread the gospel. I don't know what he's spreading at this point, besides maybe his legs. I said it. I don't believe in anything that comes out of that man's mouth. I think everything is calculated and everything is based off of what is going to personally serve. The man's energy is bad in my opinion, but that's just my opinion. So with that being said, you guys, I appreciate you guys for listening. I know some of you guys are new. Thank you guys so much for listening. Double tap the screen for the likes, like, share, and subscribe. And let me know if you want me to have more conversations like this. And also let me make this very clear. If someone tries to come and troll me, about their so-called beloved Tyler Perry, I ain't going back and forth. I'm just gonna block. I ain't got time for it. My energy will not be focused on that. I am praying. I prayed on this. I am praying that people will understand what I am saying. And for those who don't understand, as long as you're respectful, that's fine. But the moment you want to sit up there and get disrespectful, I will have no problem blocking you. It is what it is. Okay. I said what I said. That's the whole point of everybody having an opinion. Okay. And literally allowing the Holy Spirit to speak to them. And I feel that God is speaking to me and telling me that Tyler Perry is not a good person. Period. I personally would never want to work with that man unless he truly changes his ways and make things right with a lot of people. A lot of people. But with that, please like, share, and subscribe. Let's continue the conversation below. Thank you guys so much for listening, and I will see you on my next video. Toodles.